Hi, good morning, everyone. We are just going to give another minute or so. There's still people joining just now, so if you can bear with us for another minute, then we'll get started just after that. Jamie, we'll just wait on your cue to go ahead, yeah?
Yep, no problem. Probably another minute if that's okay.
Okay, no problem, thanks.
Okay, I think we're good to go when you are.
Okay, super, thanks Jamie. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session on GoCardless. My name is Elaine Primrose. I'm one of the account managers and head of sales for our Dynamics division within KIC. We want to hold this session this morning just to explain to our customers or explain how our customers are using GoCardless alongside KIC's billing app for Business Central to automate processes for collecting payments, which is helping them reduce costs associated with collecting payments and also improving cash flow. So this morning I'm joined by my colleague Doug Drysdale, who is our CTO and product manager, and also Adam from our partner GoCardless. So I'll just hand over to Adam now to kick off this session. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Eileen, and hello, everybody. Yeah, as Eileen mentioned, I'm here. I'm a partner manager for GoCardless. So I work with Microsoft and our Microsoft partners, KIC being one of our main ones there, helping their customers kind of get access to a payment method that best suits their needs for Business Central. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about kind of what we're doing within the Business Central payment space and how we're helping customers. And Doug's going to help chip in with a bit about how the solution looks and what it technically does. So today I'm going to cover, I guess, three main points really, thinking about the pains that we're helping customers with and when payments aren't sort of addressed properly, what the impact of that is. And then converse to that, what's the value of getting it right? How is it helping customers when they're thinking about improving their payment processes? And the solution that they're using to do this, GoCardless for Business Central, which KIC is implemented within the billing unit. So we'll start off thinking about the pains, really. So a lot of businesses suffer with pains around payments, and they vary. They can be around money which is late to be settled. It could be the cost of invoicing, so whether that be the cost associated or the actual cost paying for fees. Maybe if the card collections that's being used to collect a subscription, they might be failing, and then the impact that this has on the businesses. So this sending businesses under if cash flow is not well aligned, and the impact that has. And really thinking about, okay, so what are the problems that cause these big pains, right? So payment methods that are used for collecting subscriptions or recurring invoices are not really built to address that recurring need. So if we think about cards, we see there's quite a high transaction fee, so often 2 to 4%, and that on regular invoices, whether it's low value, especially high value, adds up. That tempered with the fact that cards will fail. People see rates of typically 9 to 14% on cards for recurring payments, because we all know we've all lost a card, or if a card expires within a B2B setting, and having that set up again, that creates issues, meaning that the payments aren't collected. And then thinking about bank transfer and check, so these really are designed for one-off payments, right? It's a push payment mechanism, and that means that you're waiting for your customer to send that payment. This leads to late payments, and then once the payment has been received, it's a manual process to reconcile that payment, to look, right, has customer A sent that invoice, has paid that invoice, and reconciling that with bank feeds. All of that has, you know, costs associated with it. With this, on the other, you think about direct debit or bank debit, if we're giving a kind of broader topic across different payment systems. So you've got BACS for sterling, SEPA, and Eurozone ACH in dollars. And these were built for recurring payments, but they're quite old systems. And if any of you using them today, you'll know that there is, if you're using it via the bank or other payment providers, there's often file upload, so producing those files, sending them through to the banks, and then interpreting those files, the code reasons that come with them, to understand if a payment has been successful or not, and the costs associated with understanding and running that. Not to mention that if there's a global operation, it's not stitched up with a global solution, so you'd need providers for each place. And so these are the issues that we see cropping up, and with all of these issues comes costs. I should mention, by the way, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pop them in the chat and I'll address them all at the end if I don't cover them throughout. So yeah, these are the costs that we think about associated with them. So when we think about costs for payments, it's quite easy just to think about the transaction fee. But when we look a bit deeper, the transaction fees really are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to costs. Transaction fees tend to be around 1% of total revenues, and associated with this, often overlooked, is additional provider fees. So sometimes with direct debit providers, there's license fees, there's the manual support that's needed with some of these BACS TEL supporters, and then also the module fees on top of that. But then a much greater cost is the total cost of operations. So this is the staff that are involved to process payments, whether it be development costs to integrate, or the finance team who are managing the submission, the reconciliation, and also the customer operations who support the queries. That tends to be around 3% of total revenue. These figures pulled together by the IDC. And on top of this, though, is a much higher proportion, which is the total business impact of payments. And this can be between 5 to 10%. And this is revenue that is either lost, that is late, and the cash flow that has on the impact of the business, whether it be needing to get loans, etc., and just the costs in general. So as we can see, not getting payments right and just focusing on that small transaction fee, there's actually a much wider total impact of payment costs. And so that's where our solution comes in and thinks about how do we deal with that. So we've built the first global payments platform to help deal with recurring bank collection revenue. So whether that be subscriptions, invoices, one-off payments, we've stitched together 8 schemes around the world, the US, Eurozone, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, and Denmark. And on top of that, that's where we've built our platform. Bank debit being at the core of that, so bank direct debit in the UK and elsewhere. And having those connectivity into all of the banks in each scheme, and abstracting away the complexity that's there. So whether that be the file submission and reconciliation, the compliance that needs to be done, AML, you know, all of those pieces that we deal with. And on top of those things, we've built payment success engines, so the ability to smart retry failed payments and collect 70% of failed payments, and other engines that are added on top of that, including open banking, so the ability to collect instant one-off bank transactions. But then most importantly, this effectively is our platform, and we are a cloud-focused payment provider that connect via API into Business Central. So Kik have built us into the subscription billing unit, and that's where we sit, automatically being able to raise invoices within Kick, and whether it be subscriptions or not, and all of this platform accessed automatically via our API. So just a bit about who we are. We're a global company. We process around 30 billion in dollars of annual transactions. That equates to around 160 million transactions a year. We work with 75,000 businesses. Now that's a real broad spread of types of businesses, whether it be FTSE 100 companies transacting in lots of different regions, or the government, Guardian, many of the big energy suppliers like OVO and Bulb, but also hundreds or tens of thousands of small businesses. So whether it be a very small sole trader doing a few transactions, through to kind of a small business, small enterprise. So a whole set of case studies really there. There's around 650 of us in lots of different locations. I'm based in our London office. So I'm going to hand over to Doug now, just to talk a little bit more specifically about the integration. So over
Thanks,
to you,
Adam.
Doug.
Good morning. So the extension application we've developed for GoCardless is fully integrated to Business Central. So there is just an extra option on the menu which says on Dynamics GoCardless, and we can see there we've got the various functions within the application. The first window is the transaction window, where we can actually create transaction batches to process. So we can have the next slide. So we see here we've got a list of transaction batches, and there's, from the menu, we can go away and generate a new batch. We can select that on a range of dates. So we can operate as what we call sweep, which says I want to collect all transactions due up to the 12th of May, for example. Or we can say, no, we just want the transactions that are due on the 12th of May. And that will allow us to go away and create the transaction batch, and we'll see in the transaction screen there are a number of individual transactions. If we drill into that, we actually see the collections that we are going to propose to make within the batch, and we'll see we've got menu functions that allow us to go away and look at the invoice, or if there's a particular reason we can take a payment out of the batch. Once we're happy that yes, we want to go away and collect this, we've got the function in the window to send the payments to GoCardless, and you'll see on the right hand side of the screen a payment status. In this case, this batch was submitted to GoCardless by Business Central, and as the individual transactions come back, that status will be updated. And when the payment is actually collected, Business Central will automatically post the cash receipt journal to clear that payment down, so that there's no cash receipt processing. Now, you don't have to process everything via a payment collection batch. We have an option within the software that where it's a GoCardless payment, when you're posting the invoice, it knows what the due date's going to be. It will automatically schedule the collection in GoCardless for the due date of the invoice. Okay, can we have the next slide? There is a full event log. So when the system's talking back and forward to GoCardless, every transaction is logged in the event log, so we know when we sent a transaction, when it was acknowledged by GoCardless, when the bank accepted the payment, and when the cash was actually received. So we've got all logging transactions for that, and every payment collection gets given a payment ID, so you can filter to that payment ID and you'll see the whole history of that payment within GoCardless. And I think that probably concludes my part. So at that point, I will hand back to Adam.
Great, thank you, Doug. Good stuff. So a bit about the customers who are using the Business Central, using GoCardless via Business Central. You know, what were they trying to solve? How is life now, and what are they using to achieve that? So the first customer, an IT company who were billing across a number of different payment methods, both direct debit, check, I believe check in the US, but also bank transfer. So, lots of different payment methods, and it meant that there was lots of times, nearly a few days at the end of the month, and also then chasing late payments, the cash flow issues, the pains that has for the relationship on the customers needing to chase those things. And now it's a fully automated process, and using our global features to get access to their customers. And the second one is a customer called Big Blue Broadband, who are using us with Kick, whether they're a mutual customer using the integration. They were processing direct debit via a bank, and they were having a lot of issues with it. Now, we've actually just hot off the press got a video case study. So it's just a couple of minutes, gives you a break from me, and it's nicely put together. So I am gonna play that, and yeah.
I previously worked with GoCardless and was always impressed with them as a company. So was keen when I joined to look to see whether we could expand our working relationship with them. We have a partnership with Kick. They provide the CRM and billing systems for Big Blue, but we do a lot of integration work with them. So it's Microsoft Dynamics platforms. The relationship with Kick was established before I joined. I think part of the reasons were we looked at Microsoft Dynamics as a platform, and they were established in that field, but also not too large that we wouldn't just become another customer of theirs. It's a very close relationship. We were only using GoCardless initially for UK payments, but then we identified the benefits it was giving us, and we decided that we wanted to maximise those benefits by using GoCardless in our other territories, specifically Spain, Portugal, Germany, France, Italy. When I joined Big Blue, the percentage of customers paying via direct debit was only around 12%. The fact that we've got that up to nearly 50% is because of all the direct debit and SEPA campaigns. The commercial arrangements that we have with GoCardless obviously brings benefits to that as well, but it was also the processing side of things that really made us want to make that decision. When you're processing direct debits through banks, it becomes the responsibility of multiple teams. As soon as that process was aligned into GoCardless and the banks were not in the equation, it's much more seamless and less resource intensive. I think it probably saves 2 hours a day between having to do much more manual allocations, upload payment files into a bank as opposed to doing them directly on the GoCardless portal. We can't really do any kind of development work on Dynamics without Kick. We don't have in-house developers, so we really rely on them to be able to move things forward, to automate a lot more, and to make reporting a lot easier, things like that. So they're key to all of these improvements and enhancements we make.
There we go. Oh, rewind. You've seen that, you don't need to see it again. Right, lovely. So, yeah, there we go. That was the Big Blue case study. So that's just come out, and yeah, really excited to see. We have more customers onboarding with Kick, so likely to have more good news stories coming that way. So just to kind of give you the headline figures of the return of investment that we see with companies who are using GoCardless. So this is we used some independent kind of, I don't know what you'd call them, but basically IDC and Forrester, kind of these large business insight companies who looked into our customer base, and the headline figures are that we reduce the total cost of payments by 56%. So that's helping to reduce all the costs associated with collecting payments, whether it be the transaction fees themselves or all of the staff and the processes involved. It helps in reduce days outstanding on payments by 47%, so increasing the cash flow of businesses. And also where cards are involved, it reduces churn by 21%. So that's customers who are being lost because the payment has failed rather than the customer wanting to leave. So just before I wrap up, just a couple of things to touch on. So we as a company I mean, I've worked here for 6 years and I've seen the company change a lot. You know, we've added all of these different schemes, but in the past year or two, we've really started to innovate on what it is that we're offering to help customers take control of their payments directly from a bank account. And a big one that we've just sort of brought to market is instant bank pay. So the functionality here to allow to collect payments instantly in 12 seconds. So it's kind of to replace that ability of a card and to know that you definitely have that money. 1 day settlement, so much quicker than many of the card providers. It's a significant reduction in cost compared to that of cards, and really low failure rates. So this is it's a really great feature that we're seeing lots of uptake with, and I'm happy to talk about that more, but just wanted to highlight that as something that has come down the line. So before I wrap up and hand over to you guys and see if we have any questions, just to recap the partnership with Kik and GoCardless and what that is offering the ability to do. So 3 things really to think about. Help automate your collections. So by connecting your payments with Business Central, it helps you make the most of you move to cloud, to have an ERP that is set in the cloud with a subscription billing unit, and you're linking your payments to that, utilizing Kik's pre-built integration and linking the raising of invoices and subscriptions to the collection of payment automatically. It also, secondly, will reduce your costs by increasing your visibility of payment success with automatic reconciliation, decreasing late payments by offering a pull-based payment method if you're not already, but also if you already are using direct debit, like Big Blue, the process optimization can help you increase the uptake. All of this helping reduce the hours spent managing payments so your team can focus on other growth areas for the business, reducing the total cost of payments. And then finally, access new capabilities that GoCardless are specializing in and providing innovation within. So collecting payments instantly via the open banking sort of payment revolution that's across all the banks in the UK and Eurozone, to instantly collect payments using smart retries. So across all of our data, we use intelligent engines to predict when we can collect the payment via our feature Success Plus, which I mentioned. And this has a recovery of an average of 70% of failed payments, and also access bank debit around the world. So collecting across 8 different currencies, all settled into one bank account. At the moment, it's just SEPA, where we're targeting them at the moment, but the ability is there in the future. So yeah, that about wraps it up for at the moment. Kind of handing over to you for any questions that you may have on the product or anything like that.
So we've had a couple of questions come through, Adam. One of the attendees would like to know if they're already using direct debit, how easy it is to transition or switch across to GoCardless if direct debit is already in operation.
So yeah, exactly. So if you are using direct debit, you might be using a third-party provider or with your bank, and that means that you have what you'd call a service user number. And so what we offer the ability to do, and we manage this as part of our customers, we've done this with many thousands, Big Blue being one of them, is to migrate your existing mandates to GoCardless via a process called a bulk change. So we manage this with the banks. We've migrated customers with a few hundred direct debit mandates, and also some with hundreds of thousands. So it's a process that we manage with GoCardless. The onboarding process, you have an account executive who walks you through the whole process, but also you have an onboarding manager and a customer, depending on which sort of support package you look at. You have a support manager, but you do have an onboarding manager to manage that whole migration, and that's something that we can talk to in a bit more detail if you like, afterwards. But yeah, that's something that we do.
Super. Thanks, Adam. And another we have is you mentioned bank debit, and it was really just if you could maybe explain that just a little bit more.
Yes. Absolutely. So direct debit really is a payment rails. So in the UK, BACS direct debit is the ability to pull payment out of a bank account once you have a direct debit mandate, and it's an open-ended agreement to pull that money out. Bank debit is what we use as an umbrella term to describe all of the different ones that we have. So in the Eurozone, that's SEPA direct debit. It's called different things around the world, but what we mean is kind of lowercase bank debit, just to describe the mechanism. It is the ability to debit, pull the money, so you're in control, and it's from the bank account. Now, the customers within all of these regions, they have the ability to, an indemnity, like the ability to request and protect themselves, and as you do as a business, to reject those if they do occur, and that's something that we help our businesses with. So bank debit, very much, it just means direct debit.
Super, thanks. And I think that's most of the questions that have come through for now. So
yeah, so I can, if there's, I'd say, I mean, so a couple of the questions, well, actually some questions that were covered here, so great. What I'd suggest, if people want to learn a little bit more, I'd love to have a discussion. I'm joined by Ollie, who helps me with kind of new businesses who are interested in onboarding with GoCardless and using Business Central. So I'd recommend reaching out to your account manager at Kick, or you can reach out directly to me, and we can just set up a call just to learn a bit about what you're doing and how we can help, and explore if there's any kind of, if there's anything that we can do to support you with your payments. So that's what I'd recommend for a next step. I'll be sending over, I think you'll get a copy of this deck that we went through, as well as a little primer as well, just some of the points that we talked about. But if there is nothing else, I think that's about it from me.
Yep, and just again to say thank you to everyone for joining this morning. That was really useful, Adam. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thanks everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye-bye.